Hello everybody, Jerome Wright back here again on my Geronification channel, and I have an image up here. I wonder if I can get more light on the subject here. This image is one of many that references by artists, Renaissance artists, the flight into Egypt. Now I have done a similar video on this. However, in looking at other findings of mine, I came back to this drawing um, to um, to highlight to you some of the extraordinary underlining images which demonstrate that Renaissance artists knew the genetic becoming of man, um, how we evolved from from prehistoric creatures, um, such as the ape that is known to us today, um, but previously known creatures before that. And a lot of a lot of their images, the underlying image, clearly signifies their higher knowledge as to how we genetically became. And their artworks are genetic grails, genetic holy grails of how mankind was genetically created, the bloodlines, how the bloodlines were manipulated, and how we arrived at the different civilizations of people that we have today, and the likenesses of being black, white, different tones, different with our different genetic makeups overall, and it shows how creatures were used to genetically bridge us. And I'm stating that this is going on today as I speak, and it's in the guise of Christianity and in religion, and this is why you have these gaps in our ancient history where you have all of these ancient megalithic structures built and the disappearance of these civilizations, and with no records left behind of it all. Um, it's my position that these Renaissance artists' artworks that I'm discovering and I'm bringing to you on my Geronification channel are the clear cut dry evidence that support how we genetically came and the records that were altered. These Renaissance artists had access to this knowledge and this information, and they have it in their underlying artworks, which signify that there's something terribly wrong with reality as we actually perceive it to be, and was taught for it to be to us. It's something is terribly wrong here. But anyway, I'm gonna point out some images, and I'm gonna see if you see them, and then I have another image I'm gonna bring up that I actually made the highlights in, and I'll show it to you. So I'm gonna explain it here. Here you have the holy figure here on the donkey with the baby, carrying the baby, and and it has a halo over his head, and the same with this figure here with the halo over his head, this male figure with the halo over his head. Okay, and you have the donkey. This image is an anonymous artist. Okay, however, a related artist to this, meaning that the style and the way it's actually created is that of Joachim Patinin, and it's related to an era of 1550 to 1575. Okay, and it's in the Samuel H. Kress collection. The Flight of Egypt is in the Samuel H. Kress collection. So if you want to Google this image and verify some of the things that I'm showing you, you can do that. Okay, now this image shows you some extraordinary things. If you just look at this on face, people, all you see is basically a bizarre image of that of a man, a woman, and a baby, and a donkey. And I mean, it's a landscape, and you say to yourself that, I mean, is there any more to this image? What is it so extraordinary about this image, and what makes it so valuable that so much money would be paid for an image such as this, or any of the other images, like foreign paintings, as far as like with Rembrandt, Michelangelo, and these guys. I mean, granted, they were extraordinary, extraordinary artists. But however, I mean, the underlining message that draws us to this, the fascination part of this, that you feel so much of a like a spiritual connection to, is there. Now I'm gonna point out some things to you, and go from there. Over here, and are we on the right side? You're right here. I'm at the cranium, and this is the rocks over here, people, too, by the way. You know what I mean? Let's not get that twisted. But I'm telling you that there's images and encrypted in there. I'm at the cranium of an ape. There's the ape's eye. This is the ape's snout area over top of his mouth. There's his mouth line down there. There's the nostril, and this is the bottom mouth portion. Okay. Now, okay, granted, you probably say, well, Jerome, that I mean, it looks like an ape. I'll give you that. But there's always verifications of everything. So I'm going to continue on, and I'm going to show you something else. I'm going to show you something else. Not only do we have that ape, but we have a transcendent ape right there by its mouth. It's a smaller one right here. Then what we have at the ape's mouth is this is a stone laying out, and the stone is shaped as that of a penis. You even have the smaller stone out front that creates the head. This is the shaft, and it shows you that these genetics, which were bridged, and you see the man's foot stepping off in that direction. But there's more, people, so bear in there with me. Now, what's more identifiable is the fact that we have down here the body of a dinosaur, the feet, the tail, and all. Now I'm going to see if I can. I'll bring it in closer on my other. Okay, but I'm just going to explain these things out to you to what's there. The body of a dinosaur. The fins on the dinosaur back creates the likeness of that of a reptilian being, which is, well, we know that the dinosaur is from the reptile family anyway. But you know what's on the dinosaur's back that creates its fins? The image, encrypted image of a crocodile, letting you see that there was a transition with this creature and a genetic manipulation on where these bloodlines and DNA of these creatures actually came from, where there were these bridgings that actually calls for the later calls for mankind. Now, down in here, there's a bunch of other mutations that are shown down up in here that shows you what resulted from these genetic manipulations. They come over to the side over here, they come across, and what we have here is an image of an ape. And there is a shaft and another penis at this ape's mouth. Notice that this penis is lighter in color, and notice that this penis is darker in color. This is for a reason, people. Notice that this transitioning biblical figures are coming up the middle. Now you see that the man is stepping off in this direction. It's okay. Two genetic paths. Notice that the donkey and the woman are, well, the donkey is showing you looking down at this ape figure with the penis in his mouth. It shows you, people, that there was a genetic split and bridging, and this is what this is all about. Now, any flight to Egypt, if you look at this image, which is one of ones I consider to be like in its rawest forms. And there are others. If you look at my video on the flight to Egypt and on what I speak on in there, there's others that you can actually relate these to. Now, and it actually, being that this is in its rawest form, the later images that come after this, and some before, it shows you where they adopt color codes, other objects like trees, trees with roots of big rocks indicating balls, and the tree being the shaft of the penis. In other words, it makes other innuendos about the penis being involved and how these genetics were actually sent out. And I'll discuss that later. I'm going to bring up this image though now. I said that there is a ape here, right? I'm going to bring up that image of that ape. I'm going to show you a clear image. And you can Google this image, people, and actually check it out for yourself. Where we at there? I'm going to bring that in for you. There's the ape right there. Then there's a smaller image of itself there, and the head of that creature creates the head of a penis, and it shows you a genetic bridging and a genetic alteration. Now, I told you about the dinosaur over here, or over there. Okay, I don't like reaching across this. Where's my hand at? Right here, I guess. There's the body of the dinosaur. His tail out, but instead of having his head, it has these other mutations. And its fin on his back creates that of a crocodile laid on his back. Well, showing you right here, showing you that there was a reptilian presence. Now, if you come along down in here, you can see these mutations. I don't know if I drew it out there. It shows you mutations coming off this side and showing swinging around and coming back down and swinging off to this other side here. And you can see these mutations all along in the rocks. And it shows you how these earth beings, or humans-like figures, actually came through here, genetically bridging, reintroduced to these genetics. This is what it's showing, and this is what these genetic bridgings are all about, people. It is showing how we evolved from the likeness of our original ancestor, which is that of ape and black man, and how these genetics were altered and manipulated to create other likenesses of beings. Okay, which was Asian, white. I mean, all of the different scenarios of what we are today and what humans are today. It shows you how there was a process that allowed for a knowledge. There was a greater, higher knowledge that showed, and it is my position that it didn't begin with aliens and visitors from other worlds and all of that. Even though I gotta admit, though, people, there are communications, and I have evidence of that as well. But my thing is that I'm looking at her face right there. Look at that. Looking that back at me right here as I speak. Look at that. Can you see that face there in the landscape there? Looking like it's like a ghost face looking at you right there. Eye, nose, and mouth. Probably a penis coming down to his mouth with all of this penis mess going on here. But anyway, and I'm just saying that in a joking way. I can't really see it from here, but that's what it looks like from this angle. It looks like a face looking dead at me right there. And I'm almost sure that that's what that is. And I can almost probably assure you that that's probably that of a penis right there as well, too, to be totally honest with you. But I'm not. I'm looking at it from upside down. But anyway, that's what this is all about, people. And it shows you something that is crazy and bizarre, and it shows you that these genetics were bridged, and it shows you how they were bridged. In other images, it shows that these individuals were bridged, even including the baby, showing the baby taking in genetics, blood, taking in semen. It shows how these genetics were bridged and altered from their original state. And it's my position that all of these readings, all of this stuff can be read as a genetic blueprint to how you became in the likeness that you are. And it goes from the beginning of time, okay, throughout to, from the beginning of time through to current. And it actually lets you know where our future lies genetically with that of mankind. Because these records that are kept, it shows you the time that it took after these genetic interventions were made. It shows you the time that it took for it to actually kick in, where the invading genetics would become present in that of the person in the future that they were implanted in. And this is the reason why these records were kept, and these genetic records. And if you think about it, it only makes perfect sense, because such genetic manipulations on such a large scale would require a massive record. And where else better than to keep these records than in artwork of Renaissance artists? Now, I'm not accusing every Renaissance artist of knowing and having an idea of what is going on. Some of them could have been put it in their painting as a warning and letting us know throughout to the future, to let us know, hey, look at this, people, this is what was happening. You know, others were totally unaware, and I can tell you why. And another thing about these Renaissance artist paintings is that I know a secret about them, and I can't help but say that, but so much that they don't even know about these paintings. The inspiration and the ideas that they have behind putting together these paintings has a underlying hidden, oh gosh, how can I best say this, inspiration for it all that they do not know nothing about. And I have discovered, and I know that when they create a picture, that there are multidimensional pictures within the picture that they may or may not even know even exist at the time that they were creating the image. And how I know that is through other findings and discoveries that I made that are in space. And I have videos here as well on that as well too. Okay, but people, you need to look. I need to look at this thing, this face down here, because this funky face keeps looking at me right there, and I just want to take a look at that and see if I'm seeing what I'm seeing there. And where is it at? And I believe that's just what that is that I'm seeing. Genetics being poured off of one site onto another. Exactly. Alright, but anyway, people, you can Google this image. I'm going to make this short and sweet. I'm not going to make this long at all. And I just want you to know what we're dealing with in these records. You can Google this image. They have a website. I forgot which website that I got this off of. But if you put in, I guess you can actually Google Samuel H. Crest collection, 1550 to 1575, painting of Flight to Egypt, unknown artist. Or you can just Google Flight to Egypt paintings, Renaissance paintings of Flight to Egypt. And there's a long number and list of them, because hundreds and hundreds of artists actually made these paintings. But people, there's the image of the ape there. There's the image of the ape there. Shows you, and look, and that just shows you the ape in several stages, where it was the DNA of it was broken. And the one in the green and on the grass represents reptilian. And I didn't bring that part up, okay? Meaning the reptilian presence, because it's linked with the dinosaur. The one up here shows you that dealing with the land, because these are land creatures that are encrypted within the rocks and from its original state. And people, and it goes on and on and on, and it shows you how the genetics between the both of them were broken down to where other likenesses of mankind were called for. And that's why you don't see the presence of our black ancestors within these artworks, but in the underlying messages, their genetics are there. And the reason why they're not there is not because they're racist. The artist was racist, of course, but in some artists' artworks, people, you see it. Even in biblical history and biblical times, you see black Madonnas, you see black black Christ. You see the blackness in some of the ancient Renaissance artworks and sculptures and stuff, which to your surprise you might find out. And monks and stuff, you see saints, black saints that are actually commemorated in ancient biblical times, and actually are in some of these churches, by the way. And but however, here, this is showing you that the presence of blackness is there. But what they're stating is that it was the genetics of it were left behind. And the reason why you have our white counterparts right here, I'm black by the way, that's the reason I'm speaking in the way that I am, is showing you that they overcame those genetics genetically, and this is the time that they're actually creating right here. Now, for those of you that are black in color, of African descent like I am, or from regions of the Middle East, let me tell you something. And if you're angry about anything and all that, and I'm just going to take a minute to just describe what has happened here with us. These creatures that altered our genetics. Our genetics of that of African descent are being destroyed. They're being altered. And the passage that is going is in the likenesses of our white counterparts. And this is what's happening. This is what we are evolving into. Our genetics are being broken down. If you are black, if you are Asian, if you are other than that of being white, what is happening is that your genetics have been contaminated, and ultimately generations to come of your people are either going to be destroyed altogether, become extinct, or continue on with the contamination of that of this. And this is what this is all about: genetic contamination of genetics. We are sequestered globally for the sole purpose of genetic contamination. Whatever genetics hold up the best, like genetic experiments, what genetics holds up the best are the ones that are going to be reused, and others are going to be destroyed. We die out genetically. I'm saying that examples of this are nations where you see sickness on mass scales, such as that of being in Africa, perhaps Hades, and other places where their health is ran away and in a deplored state. You can expect that these areas are going to die out genetically because their genetics have been left behind, contaminated, and bridged to the point to where there's going to be a destruction process. Now, having said that, how did this all start? How did this all come about in the first place? It's my position that there was an ancient civilization long before this, long before anything that's actually is gap between this here laid out in the underlying image and this right here. There were civilizations of black people, intelligent black people, intelligent ape forms, almost like that Planet of the Apes then, and later became black. They genetically altered themselves. It's my position that from the beginning of us evolving on this planet through our microorganism state, it was always instinctively in us to know how to genetically alter ourselves, and ultimately evolved. It's almost like in a survival-like way, stated way, that we evolved through to become this. And we knew instinctively all along how to do it. So it is my position that before there was any other civilizations, there were that of the ape as history has it. But through that evolution of ape became black man. And black man created the other civilizations. And I know how that was done. There's records of it. There's some records of it. And I can show you how it was done. What creatures contributed to actually achieving these other likenesses. And then records of it all were actually destroyed. Out in the front. There are those that know in the secret world. I wouldn't like to say secret society because I don't want to use that, but there are some that know actually how this occurred. But I can bring to you people how it actually verbatim of step by step how it occurred and how we actually came to these likenesses, which are actually being remembered now in ancient biblical texts. Each historical moment in biblical times, each historical moment in mythical times, the records that we have today, the ancient texts, the ancient records, the ancient art, the ancient artifacts, it all says the same exact thing. How our genetics were altered in that specific part of the world, at what time it was done, and what were the cause and effects and the mutations that arose therefrom. It shows you which mutations died off, which mutations survived, and which mutations can be expected to be seen in the future. People, I'm a layman at this. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a medical spokesperson, and I'm definitely not a narrator. But yet, through my paranormal experience and encounter, I can show you images in the rocks. There's an ape there. There's something else there that I'm not even going to tell you that is there. But there's an ape there, and it shows you how these faces are morphing each other with these creatures, this prehistoric dinosaur, which shouldn't even be there, and then coming around, and how there's a genetic cyclination of these genes, of where these people are now returning to a site where our genes were originally created in a cyclination way of recycling our genetics to overcome ancient flaws and call themselves, I guess, bettering our genes that were originally given to us. And it shows us how these other likenesses were created, and it shows there's a perfect record and how it was all done. People, how in the world can I do this? I can do this with every painting of this, practically every painting of Da Vinci's, every painting of Rembrandt's, every painting of Michelangelo's. You know what I mean? Every painting pretty much of doors. Every painting is of titanium. I mean, these artists knew an ancient genetic secret to how we were created at times that should not even be. They should not even have this information. And in fact, a lot of this information is not privileged to the masses of scientists today and medical persons. People, this can cure everything. Imagine me taking this and giving this to an accomplished medical doctor or an accomplished school and tell them what genetically came and why our hearts are so compatible to pigs and what mutation was in between. And you can make a heart from that for a human. I mean, people, this is understanding this stuff. Understanding all of this is understanding who you are and where you came from. This is an enjoyment that is now enjoyed by ancient kings and queens, rooted kings and queens of our world, in Spain and in Britain, the Vatican, ancient religion. These are things that they knew all along, but elected to let the masses of people suffer because they enjoyed a level of higher knowledge and a level of enrichment financially and mentally, where everyone else were left in the dark. Your life, people, these people are playing God with your life. And you worship them in a way that you should worship yourself. Because surely, and believe me when I tell you that surely this cannot be something that can be stamped with the goodness of God or the goodness of goodness and the goodness of heaven as everything that you were led to believe. This is a chemistry, a cocktail of like pagan-like worship, cult rituals, death, and destruction, and recyclination. There is no justification for this. If it was good, people, then you would not be left in the dark about it. Look at these images along the side in the rock here. You can actually see, as I'm talking to you, you can see the faces of these creatures, these ancient creatures, historical creatures that were hidden. So what the hell is ancient biblical figures doing walking through this at a time and showing this, what they're doing genetically, genetic bridging, because they're showing two sides, two genetic strands of what's going on. What are they doing coming through there on a donkey with the baby and this man, other than what I'm telling you, to be regenetically bridged with an ancient rooted genetic that they arrived from in the first one. Now they're arriving back, full circle, full swing, with new genetics to be reintroduced, rebridged. And this is what is going on. People, how could I do that? How can I explain that to you? My name is Gerone Wright. You're watching my Geronification channel. And I can do this over and over and over again. I can do this with current artists. I'm seeing this stuff in TV, in Hollywood, and our famous Hollywood movie. I see this in The Hobbit movie. I've seen it in other movies along the line. These famous movies that are on TV, I see it in ads and commercials. This stuff is in Disney. Disney is saturated with this stuff. Walt Disney, whom has I'm saying that Disney, the founding success of Disney is based on this stuff. I mean, it's saturated in music and artists. That's on. I can tell you a couple directors that are actually that are famous for including this stuff in album covers with their with the artists of the and the labels of the companies that they're working with and dealing with. You know what I mean? These are in products in our homes. These are on your bed sheets. These are on your curtains in your home. This stuff, encrypted. Encrypted. It's a label that's brand. It's like having a tattoo on you. It's in the logos of your cars. It's in your cars. And people, it's everywhere. This stuff is everywhere. And knowing what it is and knowing what it represents, then you will understand the success behind the people that brought these products into your home and became famous for being on TV with their movies, their global awards. People, you'll understand an ancient rooted system, a cult-like system that actually found its way into your home. And you'll see a lot of this stuff. If you sit back and look at your kids' toys, your kids' products in your rooms, the curtains, and Disney stuff especially, look at the underlining images and you will start seeing similar faces and identities as what I am showing you here, and references and innuendos about what is happening here. And it all has another purpose, which I shared in other videos. But people, when I tell you that you are in serious, serious trouble from your misunderstanding of why we exist, I'm telling you that it's something real. You know what I mean? It's sickening. You know what I mean? But you don't have to accept it now that you know what it is. You know what I mean? You don't have to accept it. I can do this with artist after artist. Artist after artist. George Quintence, famous homoerotic artist. His works are extraordinary, just like this. More detailed, more graphic, in fact. Salvador Dali. Pablo Picasso. His works have this stuff in it. I mean, people, we're in trouble. You're in trouble. I understand where this is taking us, where this is going. And I'm telling you right now that there are multidimensional doorways that, knowing what this stuff means, being able to identify with this stuff, you can identify and associate with everything that is around you, multidimensionally. And on top of that, you'll know where your place in this goes, because I believe that no information is ever destroyed, and you'll be able to navigate yourself, not only just in this world for you and your family, but also in an afterlife. You'll be able to create your own destiny, your own place in destiny, and your own understanding in destiny. Right now, you're following somebody else's. You can also see my Alien UFOs website. It's Alien UFOs Run Together. Dreams and Experiences is the forum. And my title there is I Am an Alien and So Are You. My profile screen name is Gerone. And you're now watching my Geronification channel. I have no end to the videos that I can create. And because there's no end to what I'm showing you here. So I can do this in our world. I can do this beyond our world. I can do this in everything that is around us, and because this is what it is all about. The creation, the survival, the recyclination, the contamination of life. And it's no difference than a bacteria or a microorganism that was sent to our world from the beginning, and all it's doing is just trying to keep surviving and survive in any way that by any means necessary, jumping from one body to the next and in a continued process to secure its place in a presence that lasts forever. And that's what this is all about. On that note, I'm going to get going. Stay with me. Google this information to a friend. Forward it to family. Post it on your website as a link. I don't care what you do. I mean, if you like what I'm telling you, if you're feeling what I'm telling you, if you're understanding what I'm telling you, then let's keep the ball rolling and let's get this thing global, because everything has a purpose and everything has a meaning. I'm not making these videos and showing you this stuff in vain. I like to believe that none of this stuff that I am doing is in vain. You know what I mean? And anytime that I can show you the body of a dinosaur and a Renaissance artist in a time that it should not be there, where we at here? There. The fins on his back being that of a crocodile. There's his legs, there's his tail, and then the front of it, instead of having a head, it has mutations of other creatures and likenesses of other beings, which are shown morphing from this direction all the way across over to here, and then to this side. Then you have apes in the middle with other creatures in its likenesses with penises at this ape's mouth. Ape over here with a penis at its mouth, or coming out of its mouth, showing you that the genetics were passed on because the balls part is in the ape's mouth, showing you that these genetics were being squirted out of that ape, which I can tell you which are, and this guy's foot is touching it, telling you that he took in these genetics on that point. Then it shows you where the donkey's looking down here at this side, these reptilian genetics, telling you that this donkey was genetically bridged with those genetics. And then this female and this child actually took in the genetics from the entire scenario, meaning from the man, the donkey, and all, and then delivered them to the baby, which is actually verified through in other images where you'll see the babies with the woman's with her titty out feeding the baby on the rest in the flight to Egypt. I mean, people, these are readable. I can read this entire thing to you. I can read other artists' entire painting to you. It's time to get it. Thank you. My name is Gerone Wright. I'm going to end the video here. I'll see you on my next video. Today, as I speak, and it's in the guise of Christianity and in religion. And this is why you have these gaps in our ancient history, where you have all of these ancient megalithic structures built and the disappearance of these civilizations, and with no records left behind of it all. It's my position that these Renaissance artist artworks that I'm discovering and I'm bringing to you on my Geronification channel are the clear-cut, dry evidence that support how we genetically came and the records that were altered. These Renaissance artists had access to this knowledge and this information, and they have it in their underlying artworks. Which signify that there's something terribly wrong with reality as we actually perceive it to be, and was taught for it to be to us. It's something is terribly wrong here. But anyway, I'm gonna point out some images, and I'm gonna see if you see them, and then I have another image I'm gonna bring up that I actually made the highlights in, and I'll show it to you. So I'm gonna explain it here. Here you have the holy figure here on the donkey with the baby, carrying the baby, and it has a halo over his head, and the same with this figure here with the halo over his head, this male figure with the halo over his head. Okay, and you have the donkey. This image is an anonymous artist. Okay, however, a related artist to this, meaning that the style and the way it's actually created is that of Joachim Patinin, and it's related to an era of 1550 to 1575. Okay, and it's in the Samuel H. Kress collection. The Flight of Egypt is in the Samuel H. Kress collection. So if you want to Google this image and verify some of the things that I'm showing you, you can do that. Okay, now this image shows you some extraordinary things. if you just look at this on face, people, all you see is basically a bizarre image of that of a man, a woman, and a baby, and a donkey. And I mean, it's a landscape, and you say to yourself that, I mean, is there any more to this image? What is it so? Hello, everybody. Jerome Wright back here again on my Geronification channel, and I have an image up here. I wonder if I can get more light on the subject here. This image is one of many that references by artists, Renaissance artists, the flight into Egypt. Now, I have done a similar video on this. However, in looking at other findings of mine, I came back to this drawing to highlight to you some of the extraordinary underlining images which demonstrate that Renaissance artists knew the genetic becoming of man, how we evolved from prehistoric creatures, such as the ape that is known to us today, but previously known creatures before that. And a lot of their images, the underlining image, clearly signifies their higher knowledge as to how we genetically became. And their artworks are genetic grails, genetic holy grails of how mankind was genetically created, the bloodlines, how the bloodlines were manipulated, and how we arrived at the different civilizations of people that we have today, and the likenesses of being black, white, different tones, different with our different genetic makeups overall. And it shows how creatures were used to genetically bridge us. And I'm stating that this is going on